Listen, if I can't stand up in front of you and either say, I have no idea, or here's my answer, here's what, then I don't have no business being the sheriff.
That's
So.
okay. So, just for the record, I'm Carrie from SoCal Martial Law Alerts, and then you are. So
I am Mark Adams, candidate for sheriff.
Awesome.
Unconstitutional. No, I would not follow orders that are unconstitutional. And specifically, I will relate that to the things that occurred during the Katrina hurricane. I saw some things there that I felt should not have been done. And I think a lot of it has to do with individual people not understanding the difference between a lawful order and an unlawful order. And sometimes that has to do with the Constitution. As an oath keeper, my first duty is to the people, and it's always to the people. It has to be. I have to always revert back to that, and I always have to look at what the Constitution says, and what the state constitution says. And sometimes that doesn't give me a lot of room to play with. The Constitution was designed to allow each state to have its own sovereignty, to make its rules and regulations and laws. And the majority of those rules and regulations and laws are based upon the will of the people. So as a sheriff and being a true public servant, I have to abide by that. That creates a dilemma for anybody as a sheriff, because you have federal law and you have state law. The state law has to trump federal law, but yet you get sheriffs and you get individuals out there, and sometimes they're extremely important, high-profile people who don't understand that the state always takes precedence over the federal. That's what the Constitution says. Okay, I firmly believe in the Second Amendment. I do not smoke marijuana. I don't believe in it. But yet that law is on the books in the state of California. So I need to take that law and respect it. And that's what I have to do. I can't say, well, I'm going to ignore the California gun laws, but I am going to enforce the marijuana laws and arrest everybody that has marijuana. But if you've got a gun that the state of California says is illegal, I'll let you go because I'm an NRA member. I can't do that. I have to take it. I have to take every law, every regulation within the state, and look at it and apply it equally to everybody. And that's what an oath keeper is. It doesn't give you There's no really gray area in it. It's black and white. Yeah, definitely. As a veteran from serving in the United States Army, and that's where I developed my leadership training. I saw good leadership and I saw bad leadership. I saw orders that were given that were bad. I've dealt with those kinds of orders even in law enforcement. Yeah, I think I've got enough life experience in me, just from my life that I've lived and the occupations that I've done throughout my lifetime to be able to see a bad order and recognize it. That's a great question. I wish that had been asked at one of the forums. Where are you guys at? Let me read this to you. Now, when we talk about oath keepers, okay, the oath that the oath keepers are talking about is the Constitution, and it mainly the Constitution of the United States, and it flows into me being a deputy sheriff and running for sheriff into the state constitution, state laws, and things like that. But being in law enforcement, it goes even a little bit farther than that, And there's something that I hunted down on the internet, and I think is really, really important. And this is something that we've never done that I'm aware of in our agency, in the sheriff's department here. And I don't think any of the police departments understand that or have done it neither. But I'm going to read this, and this is from the International Association of Police Chiefs. And what it is, it's an oath of allegiance that law enforcement is supposed to take. And I'll read this to you. On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. I will always uphold the Constitution, my community, and the agency I serve. That oath right there says a lot. But if you give that to an individual deputy and go, read this, or you put it up on a wall, it's just words. That's all it is. That's all it is. You've got to break it down for them, and And my goal is to sit down with every individual officer, whether they're correctional officers within our department, they're not sworn full-time, or my deputies, and sit down with them. And we're going to go over this. And then they're going to sign it. And then it's going to put into their file, what we call our personnel file, we call them P-file. It's going to be put in their P-file. So that they know where I'm coming from, that there's no gray area as to how I'm going to lead. You know, that's always been in part of my my campaign, and what I've told people is, you know, I'm going to lead by example and lead by doing. You know, and I'll lead from the front, not from the rear. You know, and the Constitution's right in there. You know, and it's just an education of those. And you know, my fellow deputies who I work with now are seeing that, and I have the opportunity to speak with them. I think they're taking a look at it too. You know, and again, if you do it, if you lead by example, what better way in training or explaining it to you? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do that now, but even more so, we will do that. In fact, I would like to see an increase in it, and because each agency stands alone, but we're weak when we're alone. When we stand together, we're stronger, and we have to be able to come together, whether it's a natural disaster, civil unrest, or something like that. We all have to be on the same game plan. And that's one of the issues that we have within this county right now, is it seems that the very top brass, they can't seem to get together. And it's the politicals, whether it's the political correctness or the political agendas that are flowing, you know, and that's what needs to end, you know. I've said this. Allowing politics inside law enforcement is no different than letting your employees smoke in your fireworks factory. You know, eventually there's going to be an explosion. You know it's going to happen. And that blast is not only going to damage the men and women underneath you, but the citizens that you serve. So, you know, the less politics in law enforcement, the better it is. No. No. However, that said, Camp Hunter Liggett, which is just about an hour up above us, they have a great training facility. And it's state-of-the-art, fandangled, everything. I see it as a plus to be able to use that training facility. Not to train with the military, but to train my people. And I'll give you an example. They have, you know what a simulation is?
Yes.
Okay, well, we have a simulator. It's a trailer where you get to fire a weapon that puts you in scenarios, and you've got a huge movie screen, and you actually get to shoot a gun that operates off of air. And then it records your hits, and it tells you whether it was a good shooting, bad shooting, things like that. Well, they have facilities like that too, but only to a greater extent, mainly because they have the money and the funding for it. So would I approach them and ask to use their training facility? Most definitely. I mean, the better trained my people are, the less likely that they're going to make a mistake. And that's the whole, you know, and if I can keep them alive, then I can keep my citizens alive. And that's what it's all about. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, has got their own little thing. Now, we do have what we call SIMS, which is State Emergency Management System. And we have NIMS, which is National Emergency Management System. And we work and we have been trained in those two avenues. But working with FEMA, I don't see where FEMA would do us any good. We know what we're doing at the state level, you know, and we know that when we use up our resources at the state level, then we ask for the next level, which would be the National Emergency Management System. And FEMA, which is the federal, you know, those are the ones that come in afterwards and say, you know, here's what we're going to do. FEMA came in, if I'm not mistaken, during Katrina, and pretty much made a mess of everything.
Yes.
So, you know, I think it behooves any sheriff to be extremely cautious of allowing the federal government complete control over your county, because they're not doing a great job in Washington, D.C. right now. And so that's, maybe if they gave me something different, I would know more about it, or I would have a different answer. But based upon what I've seen and what I know, I don't see any reason to train with FEMA. Absolutely not.